So early January, I get a phone call from Grant George of Funco Motorsports asking me if I had a couple weeks available in my schedule for February. He tells me he's got a spot available if I'd like to accompany him to Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the UAE for some off-roading fun. Immediately my schedule was freed up. The goal was to get to the UAE and to go meet with some of Grant's existing customers. Funco's a very popular product out there in the sandcar world. And being that I got to come along, I was going to get to do some cool UTV stuff, go see some of the people out there that I had communication with through UTV Underground. So we get to Dubai, and right when I land, first class service. Our hosts, which I've dubbed now the Esba, which is camp in Arabic, had their driver waiting for us at the airport, picks us up, about a half an hour, 40-minute drive out to El Badayr Sand Dunes, which is basically the Glamis of Dubai. El Badayr Dunes is not the most, they're not the largest dunes. They're not real big. When I was thinking Middle East, I'm thinking big, huge dunes everywhere. The dunes here are much more like the baby dunes of Glamis, like if you were gonna go from the Washes out to Oldsmobile. But it's the scene that's popular here in El Badayr. This is the place people go to be seen in their dune buggies, their sand cars, their trucks, and their UTVs. So getting to El Badayr on Thursday, which is their Friday, so their weekend is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was pretty exciting. We're rolling in, we're seeing sand cars ripping around, lots of SUVs. We pull straight up into our camp. So I keep being told we're being taken to the camp, we're being taken to the camp. So a nice camp for us in the deserts, a couple RVs, some toy haulers, trucks, you know, the toys, all that good stuff. It's not how these guys play. The camp out there is pretty much a palace in the dunes. It's so hard to describe, but these guys, you roll in and it's fenced off, it's a compound. There's a steel building there full of toys. Millions of dollars worth of sand cars stacked up for a group of 5 guys, mind you. Walk inside the gates and you've got this just unbelievable setup of outdoor fire pits, outdoor movie screens, and then what they call their majlis, which is essentially for us Americans a man cave. They hang out in a majlis. It's circled with their couches. They got their shisha, their hookah pipes, non-stop coffee, massage chairs. DVDs, big screen TVs, unbelievable. It's the opposite of a camp as far as you ask me, but pretty cool nonetheless. So we get checked into El Badayr, into the camp, post up for the evening, get ready for the ride day the next day. These guys are big with their buggies. They don't mess around. We're talking 650 horsepower, LS3s, LS7s, Whipple charged, Albin 5-speed sequentials, PBS transmissions. I mean, these guys know their stuff. They love their Funkos. This camp that we were with was stacked with Funco G52s, which is Funco's latest version of a sand car. What's cool about these guys is not only do they know the cars, but they drive them to their capabilities. So we see a lot of guys that, you know, out in Glamis, they roll up with some nice equipment. They're real good at going fast in a straight line. You don't see them doing too much in the dunes. These guys are just balls to the wall from the minute they pull out of camp to their first stop. So the average day there is much like what we would do in Glamis, you know, head out of camp, maybe head to Oldsmobile, post up for a little while, and then shoot off, and everyone's got their destinations. For these guys here, being that El Badayr is not that big, it's condensed down. So we shoot off from the camp, we head out on about a 15, 20-minute ride, arrive at the first big hill spot. Here is where they just start putting on a show for whoever's around. It's wheelie central, wheelie up, wheelie down, as fast as you can go. Power brakes everywhere, or turning brakes everywhere, sliding it out. A lot of fun. Here in the United States, we seem to have a tendency to follow the leader when we ride in the dunes. There's many reasons for this. It's safer because of how many people are out there usually. In the UAE, they've got a whole nother style. It's not real flowy, real carving through the dunes. No, it's every man for themselves. It's like a checker flag drops and it's a land rush start through the dunes. These guys know where they're going. It's real hard to follow anyone because they split off. There's 8 of you, there's 8 different lines being taken to get to this one location. So it's kind of like a mad dash, and it's definitely a race. It's always a race. So we shoot off, we go and do our rides. We hit this fence line that I believe divides the state, if you will, of Sharjah and Dubai. Run that fence line all the way down to what they were telling me is the Al Badair Starbucks. So I'm thinking, cool, they got a Starbucks in town. We're gonna go have a coffee. It's not a Starbucks. It's a joke, but it's a small little coffee shop inside this little town where you'll see everything go down. You'll see guys roll up on two wheels bicycling their razors right down the main street, to guys on quads and in their buggies even, just tearing off donuts in between this little town square. Feels like the Wild West, anything goes. From there, sun's heading down, head back to camp, have a feast, hang out, and be ready for a late night. So after that weekend, we spent 10 days, 11 days in the UAE. So that was just the first weekend. We shot off next. We spent some time in Dubai sightseeing and then headed off to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the UAE. And outside of Abu Dhabi is the Liwa Dunes. Again, Liwa would be like Abu Dhabi's Glamis, except Liwa makes Glamis look like a sandbox. Liwa is the dunes you see on TV that are just awe-inspiring. They're massive. They're huge. To put it in perspective, we went down one dune that was 1,400 feet. It wasn't even a dune, it's a mountain. In the distance, you could see, and we rode right up to the Saudi Arabian border, which was pretty cool. You could see a smokestack bellowing. I asked them what it was, and it happened to be the largest oil field in the world that was burning out in Saudi Arabia. Pretty cool. So we spent the day out there in those dunes. We did 110 miles, and to put it in perspective, if I understood correctly what someone told me, to go from Mammoth Wash, north end of Glamis, to the Mexican border is only about 30, 40 miles. So we did 110 miles in the dunes of Liwa and never saw the same dune twice. That's the sheer mad size of those dunes, and they go on for hundreds, maybe thousands of miles, as far as I could see. Untouched dunes that just softer than you could ever imagine. It was just epic, beautiful. So as an American, I had a lot of preconceived, thoughts and stereotypes about the Middle East. Of course, living in a post 9/11 world, you every time you see someone in a head wrap or in what they call a dish dash, which is like their white robe dress deal, you're thinking terrorist or someone who hates Americans or America. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have some of those thoughts in my head. Getting there, from the moment I started meeting people, they'd all changed. It all went out the window. They're the most welcoming people I could have ever imagined. The nicest. They love America. Most of them have all been educated in America. Every opportunity they get for vacation, they love to come here. Not to mention they love off-roading, so we have that common tie there. It was really a cool experience from that aspect. There was a lot of cultural stuff that was new and different. For example, eating on the floor was not something I've been accustomed to. But as someone who's open and wanting to take in all that the culture has to throw at it, the old term, when in Rome, I sat on the floor. I ate with my hands, which I liked. I drank coffee and tea that normally I wouldn't drink, and I smoked shisha that I normally wouldn't smoke. It was amazing, a great trip. If you ever have the opportunity to go to the UAE, especially to go as a guest to do some off-roading, take it, don't pass it up. The architecture, the infrastructure, the people, everything there is amazing. It's over the top. Everything we went to seemed to be the world's biggest or the world's greatest or the world's fastest. It was pretty impressive. There's a lot of money there, a lot of money, which makes it a lot of fun, especially as a guest of some of these guys that are very generous. So that made things pretty exciting. Rode in some of the most exotic vehicles I could have ever been in. But outside of all the glitz and the fun stuff like that, just being around the people, learning their culture was amazing. It totally blew my mind, changed all the perceptions I had in my mind about the Middle East. And of course there are those crazy extremist areas, but the UAE is not one of them. It's definitely a place you got to go to.